Hi all, in this video let's learn about what is Redux and about Redux workflow and a simple example with Redux and ReactJS. Fine, so let's get started. So firstly, we need to understand what is Redux. Redux is not tightly coupled with React. Okay, first thing we need to understand is it is not tightly coupled, only React should use this. It is not that way. Redux is a design pattern. First is we need to understand Redux is a design pattern and it is used to solve the maintaining of the state in an application level. Okay, it means Redux comes into picture whenever if your project grows into a large scale, and whenever the project grows in a large scale, the maintenance of the state becomes an issue. So in that case, Redux comes into picture. Okay, it is not only for React, so anyone can use this Redux. It is a design pattern. This is a library. Just they can plug and play with this library. So that is a small introduction about Redux. So there will be having stores, reducers, functions, everything will be there. I will be showing that with an example later. So first you will understand in which areas it can be helpful. And in a small projects, don't use Redux. So small project or a medium scale project, we no need to use Redux. It is like overkilling or overhead, it would be like for us. If the application is a larger scale and if you want to maintain the state at a high level and the sharing of the data between the components increases, then Redux is the best choice. Fine. Now let's understand the sharing of the state like this. So if you have a component structure like this, so this is a top level component and all these are the down level components. If a component at this level, if it is expecting some data from this level, so it is very tough to share this data between these two components. In the same way, if this component is expecting some data from the other components like this, so it is very tough to share the data in between these components. So where if you have a central store or a state, okay, where these components can share the data from that store, so all the components will do any change that would be reflected to this store, and through this store these components would be again they will be getting notified again. So that is the idea behind this Redux. So let me explain you the Redux workflow first. So I'll share you the workflow of the Redux. So in this single picture, everything was explained related to the Redux. So let me highlight this and I will explain you. So for example, if this is your component, you are at this level, you have a component, fine. If you do an action, if you click a button, if you do an event, then what you are going to do is you are going to dispatch. Now we are learning about the Redux workflow. In a component, when you do an event click, then an action is triggered and now you are dispatching this action, okay? And your action is going to the reducer. Your action will go to the reducer, okay? The reducer will update the store. As we discussed, Redux is used to maintain central storage. So it will have only one state throughout the application. It will having only one state. State in sense a big object. You can assume that as a big object. Not all the components can directly modify this store or a state. Each and every component which wants to change the store, they need to come through this reducer itself. Reducer is the function. It is only the function which is have the access to the store. Okay, whatever the component you are using, if that components want to modify any of the state changes, that should trigger an action and it can send the payload. Payload is an optional action and the payload would be dispatched. If you do an event, action and payload would be dispatched and that will reach this reducer function. And this reducer function is the only responsible thing to update this store. Fine. Once the store is updated, all the components which are registered for this store, those will be getting notified in terms of props. So for example, if component A does some action through which it is going to update the central store, component B will be notified. If it is registered to this store, component B would be notified these changes. Whatever the changes you have done in this store, those changes should be notified to the component B through the props. The props would be passed. As on when this is updated, we'll be passing this state as a props to that component. Clear? And the reducer function should be a pure function. It should not have any side effects. It should be the pure function. It will just take the previous state and the action, and there comes it updates the state. It will not modify the original state. It will take the previous state and the action, and it will return back the new state for us. Clear? This is the workflow of the Redux. In short, a component dispatches action in the payload through which you're going to a reducer. Reducer is a method which updates the store. Through the store, all the components which are registered here will be getting notified about this state as a props. Clear? This is the workflow. Let's see this with an example, small counter example. Clear? Let's get started. So I'm taking this application. So here I have taken one terminal. Let me take the other one. Okay. So now I am going to install a couple of libraries here. Before I need to going to work with the Redux, I need to install a couple of things. So the first one is npm install Redux. Redux is the one I need to install for sure. This is a third-party dependency we are using for the state maintenance. This is the one thing. And coming to the React Redux. So what is this? This is an official binding of the React and the Redux methods. Okay. With the help of this, we can make the applications. React can easily use a Redux. So React Redux is also a library which makes our life easy while you're working with the React. So that's the reason we are installing this React Redux library. Apart from this, we are going to install the third library that is known as a Redux JS /toolkit. So this is the third library which we are going to use. So we are installing three: Redux, React Redux, and this toolkit. So let me click enter. So now all the three libraries would be installed. So meanwhile, I will be explaining you about this Redux toolkit. So this Redux toolkit is a new one, new package we got. Okay, this package is like a wrapper around this Redux package. Redux is a core package. Redux toolkit package library is a wrapper around this core package where this will help us. So let me show here. So this Redux toolkit will help us a lot. It already has built-in best practices. It is already having built-in best practices, and it simplifies most of the Redux tasks. Whatever the task you have, all this Redux toolkit would be simplifying that task, and it prevents the common mistakes, and it makes us easier to write or develop the applications with the Redux. So that's the reason we are going with the Redux toolkit. Most of the part which you need to do with the manually. So this Redux tool will be doing that for us with the best practices to follow, common mistakes to avoid. Everything would be taken care by that. And it provides us an easy way to build the Redux applications. So that's the reason we are going with the Redux toolkit. Clear? And so now just, okay, we have installed the three libraries. Now let's see. Let's start the development. So this is a normal React project built on top of a create React app. So in the source file, I'm going to the index.js file. So this is the first file we need to discuss in this file. So if you see in this file, I need to wrap entire our component structure. Entire our component structure should be wrapped with a provider. Okay, what is this provider? I will be explaining you. We have a provider. So this provider will be available in this React Redux library. So we are importing this provider with the help of this provider, and I'm wrapping our component hierarchy within this provider. It means, as we discussed, we have a single store. Okay, a single state in the large scale application, a single state. That store and that state should be available for each and every component in your application, right? So that is the reason we are wrapping this in our app component. So now app component can be considered as a container component where all the components would be available here. So that's the reason we are wrapping the provider to this app component. Clear? This provider needs, it will have a property called store. Okay, you need to pass the store. Here you need to pass the store. What is this store? This store is, we are going to create this store. This store is nothing but a single large scale state. Throughout the application, you want to maintain a single state, right? That is what this store is about. The property name is store, and we are assigning the store to this store property. property of provider. So we don't have store yet. Okay, let me import that. Okay, let me create that store here. First, I will take a folder here. I will call that in the SRC. I will take a folder and I will call that as a store. In this store folder, again, I will take a store file, store.js. Clear? Now, let's write some code here. But as I have mentioned here, let me import it here. I'm importing the store from where we are importing that. We are importing that dot store dot store. Okay, we are getting so something. We'll be writing some store data here, and this is a central store data, and that we are providing. This store we are providing to all the components. That's the reason we have wrapped this in a provider and assigning our store to this store. Let's write something in this store. Okay, clear? So let's do that. So go back to this store file. So let me import one thing. So import from, do this import from first, so that what all the available packages, everything will be available for you here. Redux Toolkit. Okay, now import something from this Redux Toolkit. What is the something? So that something is known as configure the store. Earlier, before this Redux Toolkit came into picture, we have create store. So instead of that place, we got config store. Okay, this is a better than the create store. It provides more easiest way to develop the Redux applications. Fine. So now what I need to do, I need to export default config store. So this store I'm exporting. So whatever the thing you are exporting by default, that we are importing here with the name store. That's what we are doing. We're exporting config store. What this config store will do, it is an object. So it consists of a reducer. So we are going to give the reducer name. What is the reducer name? Because as per this, what we understood, we will be having a central store. Who will be modifying this central store? Only reducers can modify this central store. That is the reason we are configuring the store. Okay, we are saying that we have a store and this reducer should modify that store. Which reducer? So let me say that as a counter. Okay, and the name of our reducer. So usually you can have a number of reducers, not just one reducer. You can have multiple reducers based upon the functionality and the features. You can have multiple reducers, but all reducers can be combined into single reducer, and that single reducer should be configured to the store, central store. Clear? So that we can see in the next examples in the next videos. So now what I have done, I have configuring the store and I'm telling that the reducer. So this is a reducer function where I'm going to use. This is what I told. Fine. Where is this reducer function? It was not yet created, right? So let's create that first. So for that, let me create one more folder here. I will name this as a reducer. Okay. Okay. In this reducer, I will again I will create a file called counter slice. So this is just an example. Okay, I'm creating one file. So now I need to use that here. So let me import that here now. As I have reducer now, I'm importing the reducer here. So the counter reducer, I will be importing the counter reducer from reducer backslash counter slice. Clear? Now we are importing our reducer function, okay, from this folder and we are assigning that to the counter reducer. Clear? Reducer is the one which is going to modify the store directly. That's the reason we are configuring the store and mentioning what is a reducer, what is a function name. So that is what we have mentioned here. Clear? So now let's define something in this counter. So this is what the reducer function is. So in this reducer function, what we are going to write. So let's write few things, few parts. So let me import first. So I need to import create slice. So this is a piece of reducer. Okay, so that's the reason it was named like this. Right now, let me export. As here we are using our count reducer. I need to export this count reducer. Clear? Now I am going to export constant counter slice is equal to, now with the help of this create slice. Okay, I will be doing a couple of things. With the help of this, now I'm defining an object with the create slice, which I have taken from the Redux Toolkit. Okay, yeah, we have taken this from the Redux Toolkit. Okay, we no need to have this. I think we can create it directly here as well. It was automatically imported, I guess. So this is the one we need to import from. Clear? So from this, we are taking the create slice. Here, this is an object. In this object, we need to specify some properties. Here I have specified a name, reducer, and I kept a counter. So counter reducer is a method, so which we are going to declare now. But what is this counter? What is this counter is about? So that counter is the name of this slice. So that's the reason I'm mentioning this as a counter. This name and this name should be the same. Clear? We are creating a slice name counter and we are giving that slice to the reducer and we are telling that this is the function for this slice. Clear? Not only the name property, we can give the initial state. Initial state is the next. So this is a global state. In this global state, for this reducer, this is a global state in which we are declaring a state value is equal to 0, value of 0. This is what we have defined. We need to have a name, okay, that is counter by, and we have an initial state. And in that initial state is an object. You can give any of the values here, but now we are giving only value is of 0. And now we'll be having reducers. So this is also one more property we'll be having in this reducer. So this reducers is a function. So this is what the main thing we need. Okay, this is a function. So now I will be writing an increment method. So increment action. This is an action. So where I will be telling the state. Okay, I will be writing an arrow function here. So I will take the state dot value, existing state dot value equal to, I will do state dot value plus 1. Okay, I will take the state, existing state, and that in that dot value means you will be getting 0 here, plus 1. Whenever anyone does this increment action, okay, what does this reducer does? It is going to take the existing state value and it is going to add plus 1 and it is going to return back this state again. So this is what it is going to do. So this is one of the reducer function. So let's write one more reducer, like one more function called decrement. In the same way, we'll be writing the decrement method. So in the decrement also, I will be writing the same state, okay, and the arrow function state dot value equal to state dot value minus 1. So instead of this, you can use an shorthand operator. So you can also do that. Let me show you. So you can remove this instead of writing 2 times here. Just use a plus here. So this is what the same, but here what I want to show is it will not modify the existing state. It will return back the existing new state. Okay, let me remove all these things. Okay, I will do a minus here. So now this is perfect. I have declared this reducer as well. This create slice, this method accepts in this object 3 things: name, initial state, and the reducer. In this reducer, we have given increment, okay, and decrement. Okay, this, let me export few of the things so that others can use this. So I need to export. So these are called as actions. Increment is an action, decrement is an action. Clear? We need to export these actions so that other components can use those actions. So that's the reason I'm export constant. I'm telling that increment, comma, decrement. So I'm using object destructuring. And where is the object here? So this counter slice, comma, actions. This is what you can say. You have not yet said these are actions. You have nowhere declared that, or in any, you have not declared any of the action creators actions. But this Redux toolkit will make our life easier. It helps us easier to develop the things. So that's the reason we have taken an export constant and an object destructuring, and we have taken increment decrement. So this increment and decrement, now there, those are actions. If you send like this, now increment and decrement are the actions. So other components can use these actions directly. They can trigger these actions. Clear? Now, not only this, we can also export I will be exporting the export default counter slice dot reducer. So this is a reducer function. This default export is a main export. So this is what goes to here. This is a counter reducer. So whatever I exported by default, that is what we are importing here, and we are assigning that counter reducer here to the this main reducer, which is going to modify the central state. Clear? This is the reducer function. Not only this, if you want to access the state, the current state, yes, you have the current state value, right? So if you want to access this current state value, how can you do that? So, and I will also export that. Okay, select count, selected count or select count. Okay, here what I'm doing, I'm taking the state. So if someone wants to check what is the current state, so each and every component can not directly modify the central state, but they can read the state. What is the value present in the state? They can read the state at any point if they want. That we are making to do that with the help of this method, select count. We are providing, we are exporting this and we are keeping the state here so that others can easily use the state here. State dot counter dot value. So this is how you need to export these things. Now this value will be available whatever the how many times you have updated. Other components also can update, increment, decrement. They can do a number of things. But at one point, if you want to check what is the counter value, then you can just ask or see this select count. With the help of this select count, you at any point you can find what is the value of this counter. So that is what happens. So now we have declared reducer function. We have declared the store. Okay, we have a store. We have the provider. We have everything we have in place. What we need, the next thing is you need to write, modify the app.js. So let me remove all this part of the code. So this is the default code. I'm removing that. In this app.js code, let me write a couple of things. So before writing, I will be importing them. So let's return. Yep, it's return. I will write a button. Okay, let me take a button here. So what button is this? This is an add. Let me take this as an add button. Clear? Now let me break this line. After this, let me take one more button. Okay, I will call this as subtract. Okay, fine. So now in between these two buttons, so let me keep the count. I will be taking the p tag. Okay, let's keep the count, the value of the count, whatever the counter value, that will keep here. So this is a text here, but I will be updating that with a state. Clear? Now whenever this button is clicked, so I'm writing an on click function. Whenever this is clicked, what we need to do, we need to dispatch the function. So as per the flow we learned, we need to dispatch an action. Okay, dispatch an action. What are the actions here available? We have increment and decrement. We have two actions. So we have exported them in order to import them. So that's the reason I will be importing the two actions now. So let me import the increment and decrement, increment, comma, decrement. So I will be importing the increment and the decrement here. So from where I need to increment and decrement this? From reducer function, dot reducer. So let me check where it is. Yes, in the file itself. So reducer backslash counter slice. Okay, we are importing them like this. Clear? These two actions we have imported here. Now we need to dispatch. So dispatch is also a function. So let's import that as well. So dispatch this action whenever someone does any action. So if I click add, I need to dispatch this increment method. I'm triggering this increment action. I'm doing this action. So dispatch is the one we need to import. So from where we need to import? Yes, we'll import it from import. So not dispatch directly. So we have use dispatch. So this is an hook. Use dispatch is an hook. Okay, use dispatch is a hook that will be getting from the React Redux. From here, you'll be having the use dispatch. Okay, you need to get this use dispatch, and let me take that in a variable is equal to use dispatch. Okay, now this is what this dispatch means. We have a use dispatch hook in the React Redux through which you are going to dispatch your action. Your action is nothing but increment. Okay, that is what you're doing. The same thing you'll be doing here for the subtract as well. Let me copy this, and I will paste here. And in terms of increment, I will change it to the decrement. Clear? Fine. Now what I need the state. So this statement is updating. This button is updating the state. Which state? The store, which is this state. Okay. This button is updating the state. Whenever this button is clicked, an action is dispatched. Action name is increment. Then now the flow will go here. Now it comes here and it does the increment. And now the value becomes 1. But there is no one to access this value. So let's access this counter value. How we can access this value? We have also exported this value like this. So this is the reason why we have exported. So we can import it in that way and we can use it. So let me import. So we can import that directly here as well. Comma, select count. So in this select count, at any point, whatever the value present in this object, that would be available. Clear? Now let's take that. Okay, but now we can't take that value directly and use this here. Okay, how we can do that? So for that, again, we'll be having something called use selector. So with the help of this use selector hook, you can access the state. So here I will be saying constant state is equal to use selector. In this use selector, you need to pass this select count. Okay, you need to pass this select count. Then in this count, that value will be available. So now if the value is available in this count, I can represent that in terms of flower bases like this. Clear, everyone? So now we have increment, decrement, select count, which we have taken this from the counter slice. And now with the help of use dispatch, you're going to dispatch the actions. With the help of use selector, you're going to access the state. Okay, the global state you can access with the help of the use selector, and that you can keep in any of the variable, and that you can use in the state. So with the help of use dispatch, you are going to trigger the reducer and you can update the store. With the help of the use selector, you can read the state. Whatever the state, updated state, you can read in this use selector. Clear? As on when the store is updated, this is the reason because it is pointing to this select store. If this is updated, this use selector will get this updated state and it will assign this to the count. So that is the reason. So let's see the output once. So I think I'm getting an error here. Cannot resolve in the store's 4th line. So let's go back to the store page, 4th line counter here. So I think it is unable to resolve this. Okay, so let's give one more. I think we need to give, yes, this is what we need to give. So I think, yep. Now if I increment this and if I decrement this, these are working. So when I do click this action, what is happening? When I click this, I'm dispatching the increment action. When I click the add button, I'm dispatching the increment function and the control is going to here and it is incrementing the state and it is returning back the updated state is updated here. Okay, as you are using this updated state here with the help of use selector, that value is displayed here. The same thing is for the decrement as well. See, so this is a basic video where you can understand about what is Redux, about the Redux workflow, Redux toolkit, and a simple example with the counter with the ReactJS. Hope you understand the video. Please subscribe for more videos. Thank you.